We're starting with news that just crossed a few moments ago. Novo Nordisk expanding legal action to protect patents from unsafe, non-FDA approved semaglutide. And joining us now is CNBC Health and Pharmaceuticals reporter Angelica Peebles and CNBC's Brandon Gomez. Let's start right here. And Brandon, I'm going to kick this off with you. You're on set with me because we did see Hims and Hers. They reported earnings after the bell last night. It was ugly. They clawed back to the flat line, and now they're down again on this headline.
Yeah, and there was this conversation, too, about would Novo take additional legal action in order to protect its rights to produce these drugs and to really fight back against the compounders. Look, you saw the breakup happen earlier in the year where Novo joined as a partner and then said, look, if you're not going to supply our branded drugs to the consumer base, then we have no interest in this partnership, right? And so they actually broke up that deal. There was a question on the earnings call last night as well about how they're navigating this space. I mean, Andrew Dudum, the CEO, said, we saw the meaningful step down primarily as a result of offboarding for their own commercially available decisions of GLP-1. So basically, he's saying that there have been consumers who have now been transitioning over to these branded drugs like the Ozempics and the Wegovy that Novo supplies. The question is how is the company then going to still push its compounded drugs? It still legally can, right? That's still part of the conversation. But how is that going to impact results long term?
And Angelica, I want to get your thoughts on this. We've got a bunch to talk to you about with earnings, but first, the read-through to Novo and also to Eli Lilly and just sort of these giants in the GLP-1 space in general.
Yeah, well, I don't think we should be surprised by this action from Novo. Remember, last week, they significantly took down their full-year guidance because, in part, of the compounded GLP-1s. And they're saying that they expected that compounding was going to go away earlier this year when technically mass compounding was supposed to stop, and that did not happen. And they've said that they're going to pursue more legal action. So like you said, 14 new lawsuits, and they say that they've now filed 132 lawsuits in federal court. And so this is going to be something that's going to remain an issue for them. Tomorrow they report earnings, so we'll get a better idea of exactly what they saw in the second quarter and what they're expecting from the rest of the year. Now, this has been an issue primarily for Novo. It's weighed on them. And we also do hear from Lilly on Thursday, but analysts are not expecting that this will be as big of an issue for them because really the compounding that we have seen has been focused on semaglutide. That's the main ingredient in Ozempic and Wegovy. So much more to hear on that from both of those companies this week, Morgan.
Meantime, Angelica, Pfizer beat and raised this morning. What's the read-through, especially as the president is talking about these tariffs that are coming?
Yeah, this was a really broad beat for Pfizer. The company saw strength across really most of its drugs and vaccines. Some of the ones that I would call out, Vyndaqel, that's a heart drug. Also, Eliquis, that's a blood thinner. And really, we also saw a surprising COVID beat as well. But they didn't raise their full-year sales guidance. They said that they wanted to be conservative going into the fall when we do see the bulk of those COVID sales. They did go ahead, though, and raise their full-year adjusted EPS. And that's really due to cost cutting. Remember, they've been on this path. They're planning to cut about $8 billion in costs. And they also saw a lower tax rate in the quarter. And that also does incorporate the impact of tariffs. They didn't want to spell out too much of what they're seeing, but they are assuming some tariff impact as well as possibly lower prices as a result of that letter they got from President Trump last week. Remember, the president sent letters to 17 large drug makers asking them to lower the price of drugs in the U.S. so that they're closer to levels that we see in other countries. And analysts tried to ask CEO Albert Bourla probably 1,000 different ways about how those conversations are going. And he really didn't want to say much beyond that those discussions are ongoing and that they remain productive. It sounds like he's talking to pretty much everyone in the administration, from the president down to the secretaries and anyone who will listen. So, we tried to get more, but we'll have to see exactly what happens with those.
Yeah, so it looks like some changes afoot on the policy side for vaccines, too, which could be impactful for them. Angelica Peebles and Brandon Gomez, we have to leave the conversation there. Thank you both.